What just happened? This Melta Rifle Tactical Marine build is the most overpowered and absolutely outrageous build I've had the pleasure of playing in this game so far. Horseback scan, striked, bullied. It's already incapacitated, already executed. It's as simple as that. Its DPS is absolutely off the charts, and coupled with some slight changes to the perk setup, you can offer your teammates a tasty 125% increase to Auspex scan, with the added bonus that you can also apply this to single targets as many times as you like. Couple this with a punchy bolt pistol setup to get the most out of those gun strikes, and a flexible chainsword setup of your preference. You can create a tactical marine that easily incapacitates elite targets with very little effort at all. I knew this would be powerful, folks, but this really is on another level, and I wouldn't be surprised if this gets a little bit of balanced treatment in the near future. It really does just trivialize the game in comparison to other weapons, and I wasn't actually prepared for how much this would alter the game and be quite game breaking, if I'm completely honest, folks. Unsurprisingly, it doesn't take much to incapacitate and execute enemies, and it makes controlling the battlefield when it's full of these more scary elite enemies a walk in the park, folks. There's a really punchy combo you can pull off that takes full advantage of the tactical's perk options, which makes you an unrivaled close-range menace to both Chaos and Tyranid elites. More on that in a moment, folks. The playstyle for this build couldn't be simpler. Ensure you are in range of your adversaries, rapidly unload the Melta rounds into groups, and watch chaff enemies fall and elite enemies stagger around the place like they've had 10 pints until they enter the incapacitated stupor. Once you have incapacitated an elite, either opt for the execute, which is usually the preferred choice when trying to regain armor, or pick them off with your bolt pistol. As we are using Emperor's Vengeance as one of our non-negotiable perks, every time we kill a Majoris enemy, we replenish an entire mag for our weapon, making it very easy to keep permanent uptime going with this setup. The real kicker in this setup, folks, can be unearthed by actively seeking gun strikes against warriors and Chaos Marines after a series of parries, and immediately following this up with a Melta Blast or two, as this secures an incapacitation. It's literally bonkers. It couldn't be easier, folks, and this is made possible because we're using the perk Battle Focus. When we perfect parry, we apply our Auspex scan onto the enemy, and this synergizes superbly with Relentless Pursuit, which gives us an additional 25% damage after landing a gun strike. This further elevates the damage of our already insanely powerful Relic Melta, and as mentioned, Auspex scan is the icing on the cake here, folks, and provides us with that 125% increased damage every time we drop this, with the added bonus that this will apply to single targets every single time we perform a perfect parry. This is a really nice bonus to have at hand, and don't be surprised if you find yourself double gun striking often because of how much the damage output is increased by this synergy between Auspex scan and the gun strike, especially if you have an assault in your group running the plus 50% gun strike buff. Stack this with multiple Melta users in your squad and laugh at just how quickly seemingly scary groups disintegrate into nothing. Now, the contested health regen implementation on this weapon is absolutely crazy. Because it does so much burst damage, you can often find yourself going from 10% to full health in the blink of an eye, whether it's in boss fights or a particularly dicey horde attack. I'm not sure how long this will be around for, to be honest, folks, because it just seems far too broken and trivializes all encounters, so you might want to make the most of this, but you can literally stand in situations that would usually kill any other class or loadout and just face tank and out heal everything. If you want to take full advantage of this, bait attacks to take a small amount of damage and gain some contested health, then follow this up by spamming the Melta into groups of enemies and just watch your health bar refill. And it's these types of weapons that make Space Marine 2 such a joy to play. Speaking of which, if you're looking to acquire Space Marine 2, our channel sponsor Instant Gaming can offer you this and other exciting titles such as Black Myth Wukong at insanely discounted prices. Instant Gaming is 100% legit because they acquire all their keys directly from the source, provide providing you authenticity without compromise, and this is reflected in their 4.7 Trustpilot score from over 720,000 reviews. Instant Gaming is not just another key marketplace, folks. Everything comes from authorized sellers. In terms of Space Marine 2, if you're looking to pick up the standard edition of the game, you can grab this for a reduced cost of $52, which is down from $67. So, if you want to save some money on video games and support me and the Phase Shift community as we take on the Tyrannid scum, click on the link in the description or the pinned comment below and enjoy those juicy Instant Gaming discounts. Now, back to the video. In terms of the perks, we're going to roll in straight away with balanced distribution. Your primary weapon deals 10% more damage, but your secondary deals 10% less damage. No brainer there, folks. Straight into the second column with Relentless Pursuit. After a gun strike, range damage increases by 25% for 5 seconds. This is integral and a must pick. No surprises here in the third column. We've got Emperor's Vengeance. Killing a Majoris level enemy or higher restores your primary weapon's ammo by 1 magazine. This means we always have our ammo topped off in our Melta Rifle, so no surprises there, folks. And then once again, you can either pick Transhuman Physiology for your team perk, or you can go for Aligned Aim for that 5% increased range damage to all your squad mates. I personally prefer Transhuman Physiology. I just like the survivability, but that is a flex slot. You can choose what you prefer. Now, this is where things start to differ slightly from my previous setups. We've got priority targeting in the 5th column, and that is going to give us an extra 8 seconds for our Auspex scan, but it means that the scans will now ignore Minoris enemies. I will explain why in a moment. This column is the one that people usually debate about. Do you take precise calibration for that 75% increased damage, or do you take battle focus for a perfectly timed parry, giving us Auspex scan? In this particular setup, we're going to go with battle focus purely because of the amount of parrying and gun striking and blowing their faces off with the Melta that we're going to do. This is what makes it possible to do that rotation and have that success rate. So make sure you pick this one for this particular build, folks. I would always say with a Melta, go with battle focus. Moving on to the final column, you've got expert timing here for that 100% additional damage. I think that's a no-brainer for me still, folks. And then this is where I start thinking a little bit again. Marked for Death is my usual go-to here. The thing is, when you've got battle focus up, you will be parrying all the time and applying Auspex scan, so that means you'll often end up shooting just a warrior and taking its head off, and it kind of wastes it a little bit. So you can either keep it there and just accept your fate. I've been playing around with radiating impact a little bit. It's a little bit meh, but it might be more efficient in the long run. The choice is entirely yours. I still stay with Mark for Death, but that's up to you, folks. Onto our choice of weapon, and we're going for the Aphelion Liberator Alpha, and that is purely because it gives us more ammo capacity in our magazines, and that is what we want, folks. We want to have as much uptime as possible, and we want to be sucking up as much ammo when we get those kills that triggers Emperor's Vengeance. In terms of the perks, this is really straightforward. You just go straight across the top. So we'll start over here with Extended Magazine. Magazine size increases by 15% of the maximum. No brainer. Next one, Magazine Restoration. When your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve is restored by a full magazine. Awesome. Great Might. Damage increases by 10% against Terminus enemies. What's not to like? Divine Might. Damage increased by 10%. Yep. Extended Magazine increases the size by 15% again. The first shot after each reload deals 10% more damage. That's from the perk First Shot here. And then into the relic section, we've got Elusive Fire. After a perfectly timed dodge, your fire rate increases by 25% for 5 seconds. And Perpetual Fire, the fire rate is increased by 10%. This is just throughput all the way. Capacity and throughput, and that's what we're after, folks. In terms of our bolt pistol choice, we want to go with Aphelion Liberation Beta because it's got the highest firepower output. We won't be using it for anything other than administering gun strikes, so we just want the highest damage output possible there, folks. And in terms of the perks, we're going along the bottom row first. Great Might gives us 10% against Terminus enemies. Then we're going into Retaliation. A perfectly timed dodge will allow you to deal 25% more damage. Great for a gun strike. Followed up by Iron Grip. After a gun strike, recoil is reduced by 35%. Then Divine Might, 10% increased damage, then Extended Mag for an extended mag, Headhunter for 10% headshot damage, then Elite Hunter. After killing a Majoris level enemy or higher with a melee weapon, headshots deal 50% more damage for 5 seconds, and then finally Headhunter for another 10% more headshot damage. Our choice of Chainsword is Aquilian Dedication. The reason being, it's got fencing as its defense. It just makes those timing windows for parries much more forgiving, and that's what you want to be getting off as much as possible. In terms of the perks, I'm going to preface this by saying this is a matter of preference and taste. I personally don't use the Chainsword for much more than parrying and also getting a light heavy combo off in the middle of my rotations just to put some damage out and to get some stuns off. I've just gone straight along the bottom, folks, and I don't put too much weight on this, but it's just because you get increased melee damage followed by heavy attacks restoring 100% more contested health. This applies to the following attacks: quick punch, front kick, shoulder bash, stomp. All those heavy attacks give us loads more life leech, which is a really nice touch. Then we've got perpetual strength. Then we've got Sawblade. The combo length is shortened from 5 to 4. Then we've got Tyrannid Slayer, some more damage against Tyranids. You could go to the Chaos one if you're fighting Chaos. Then we've got Menorah Slayer, increased damage against Menorah's enemies. Full Throttle lets you change your attack. I very rarely use this. If someone's using it, let me know in the comments if I'm missing a trick somewhere. I feel like it's not really worth it. Extremist Slayer, melee damage against extremist level enemies increases by 15%. And finally, Kill Streak. After killing 10 enemies in rapid succession with a light combo, you don't lose control upon taking heavy hits. Again, I don't use it that much, folks, in this build, but it's there if you want to try it. If you've got any thoughts about the Chainsword on the tactical, then just sound off in the comments below. If you're looking for an incredibly powerful Plasma Incinerator build for the Tactical Marine, check out this next video. It's got you covered. Take care of yourselves, keep having fun, come check out a stream on YouTube or Twitch, and I'll see you in the next one.